Hi, I'm Ralph Serpe with the Adams County Community Foundation, and you're watching the Christmas edition of Open House. With me today is Ken and Connie Farabaugh. Ken, you're a founding director of the Adams County Community Foundation. Connie, you've been a great volunteer with the Community Foundation as well, and we're happy that you're both here today.
Thank you.
You know, this is a great time of year. It's the giving season, and I can't think of two more generous giving people than the two of you. And I'm wondering if you can start off by telling us what does generosity mean to you?
Well, generosity to me means giving not just of money, but giving of time. Everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. It's a matter of what we use that time to do. And even though some individuals may not have a lot of money, they do have time that they can give.
We started by giving that way. We didn't have much money starting out, so we would volunteer and, you know, give our time. And as you change and you grow, you know, then you're able to give a little bit and a little bit and a little bit.
And what prompted you to give of your time? What prompted that generosity in you?
I think organizations you belong to, I think people you meet. Ken was involved in a lot of community things, and we always worked as a team. Mm-hmm. So he would start something and say, "Can you help?" And
there you were.
There I was.
We work together.
For many people, that generosity is family-based, learned from parents or extended family, mm-hmm. coworkers.
Well, going back to whenever I was very young, I'm the oldest of six, okay? And Connie likewise, the oldest of six. And in our community, it was just something that we were expected to do. Our parents gave, and they were very much involved in their church. So much of what we saw was a church. And when we were young, we were expected to give part of our allowance to the church. And whenever there was an activity, then we were supposed to be involved in that. And then the same thing in the community, when there would be some kind of a community activity going on, to be involved in it, to help raise money. So it was a good start. We had very fortunate to have good examples. And I remember visiting with my grandparents when I was very young, and they were both involved with their church bazaar. So it was going and helping out at that, and I was a little kid, real little kid, and they just took me along, and you got to see what they were doing. So getting involved in the community started very early.
Yeah, and Connie?
Probably the same thing. In our community, there were many churches because it was an ethnic community. So there was a church for every ethnic group. Mm-hmm. And every ethnic group, the Italian church had a spaghetti dinner. The Polish church had their dinner. You know, so every group had something for a fundraiser. So we would go and support them, and they would support us. And, you know, it started with church, because there wasn't anything else.
Mm-hmm. It was church was not only a place to worship, but it was also a place to connect with a larger community.
Yeah, it was a community activity.
Yeah.
I have a similar experience. My father was in the Lions Club while we were growing up, and mm-hmm. I spent many weekends cleaning up pancake breakfasts and mm-hmm. Doing lots of things through the Boy Scouts and whatnot. So I learned that through them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, giving, you're tithing through church, and eventually you realize that you're giving to someone who you'll never see, who you'll never know.
And that's one of the things in our church. One of the things they brought to us, and this is by this time in 6th grade, I was self-sufficient. Okay, I had my paper route. So
sure, one of 6 you had to be.
That's it. So there were no more allowances after 5th grade. So at that time, they said, what we're doing is as a group, we're going to support a child overseas, adopt a child type thing. And I said, well, maybe I could do that myself. And so that I took that was one of the things I started doing as very early on.
Now
was doing
fast
that.
forward and tell us how that's manifested itself in your life as adults.
Well, quite frankly, right now, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah,
not only that, but I think that's got us involved. When we moved out of the area, we moved here in 1969. We were here for a number of years, and then we moved out of the area to Harrisburg for 9 years, and then we returned. When we
Same house.
Same house.
Same house. Very fortunate to be able to buy it back. But one of the reasons we wanted to come back to the area is because we fell in love with this area. And as soon as we moved back, I got involved in Rotary. Mm-hmm. In fact, before we moved back, I was involved in Rotary. And so the first thing that I was involved in was their spaghetti dinner. And the spaghetti dinner wasn't just to have a spaghetti dinner, but it was to raise money for Rotary so that they could give money away.
Right.
And so that was the first activity. And then being involved in the United Way years before, coming back, got involved in the United Way. And that pulls you into the community. And the Chamber of Commerce helps you pull into the community. And the historic Gettysburg, Adams County that we became part of, we were founding members of the Adams County, or the historic Gettysburg, Adams County. And having an old home, that tied us with that group. And then Connie became the president of that organization, okay? And so we got pulled into the community in a big way by coming back.
You also allowed yourself to be pulled into the community because everyone we're bombarded every day with the needs for the people around us, the organizations around us. And especially at this time of year, which is why we're having this conversation, people open themselves up a little more to people who have less than they have, or an opportunity to make their communities better. But it seems like the two of you took that and do it 12 months out of the year. And that your heart isn't just with one organization, it's with this community. Mm-hmm. And so you've served not only this community, but can you tell us about some of your international work that you do through Rotary?
Well, shortly after, I should say, we got involved in Rotary. Because,
after the spaghetti dinner.
We were asked if I would be a counselor for an exchange student that was here from Australia. And,
with Rotary, the Rotary Youth Exchange.
Right.
And so I agreed to do that. And so that became a joint activity because I feel it's better to have a couple be counselors for a student, because this happened to be a girl, so if they had something to talk about, it was with Connie. So that got us involved in it in a small way. And then we had a student that came from Belgium, and that student needed a third host family, and they were having a difficult time finding a third host family. So we agreed to host the student. They happened to be in the Fairfield school system, and her name was Maria Leaks. And having her pulled us really into the program because we had no children of our own. So she became like our child. And I mean, we still have contact with her and with our granddaughter now, who is 20.
And then 50-some students later.
Right, right. So
Well,
tell us,
right.
So over the years, you've had over 50 students.
From all countries, And you learn a lot about these other countries that you wouldn't as a traveler, that when you have them in your home, they can tell you a little bit about their culture. And a lot of the cultures we found out that have very high taxes, they don't have community service programs. their tax money goes to these programs. And so whatever the government deems they should get, I guess that's how they give them money. And so the kids weren't familiar with their parents, even though they may have had a father in Rotary. They didn't have community projects. So when we had them work at the pancake breakfast or the pasta dinner, I mean, they thought it was hilarious and fun. You know, they had a ball doing this. And their parents were even thrilled to know that we did such a thing and that they were a part of it. And so then the kids had a different frame of mind, knowing that, you know, if we were ringing bells out at the Walmart,
Right.
they were ringing bells at the Walmart, you know, and they did very well. And that's something in this community at Christmas everybody should experience, is ringing the bell.
Yeah, which you've probably
We've
done
done it.
already this year?
Yeah.
It's incredible that as a community, whether it's agriculture or the National Historic Sites here, that we welcome millions of people into our community. But you've welcomed students into your home. You've elevated them to family status.
Yep.
And that type of generosity is just deep down, it's part of who you are.
Well, I think there's another aspect to this, and that's the students that we've sent out. Because we've
Yeah.
sent out over 100 students from Gettysburg that have gone abroad and come back and be able to share with their families. And the impact that they will have going forward, I think, is immeasurable.
When you think about the generosity of spirit that you've been a part of, that you've fostered in others, and you think about this community, if you think about Adams County, what's your hope for Adams County? We'll start with you, Ken. What's your next big hope for Adams County?
Well, we've done an analysis and found that there are three basic things that are of concern, and that's affordable housing, transportation, and youth. And I really feel that there's a lot of opportunity for individuals to participate and to move those goals forward. Affordable housing is something that we're starting to look at very closely now. And if we can have more individuals that are able to have a good place to live. And as I came here today, there was a homeless man on the corner that I've seen over and over again. And someday I'd like to see him in his own place if he so desires.
Sort of addressing that systemic issue. It's not just giving someone a bed for a night, but trying to find a home forever for
Right.
people. Connie, what's your big hope for Adams County?
Probably in the youth area, something more than, a weekend thing, that it's an ongoing thing. This community is really good for giving jobs to some of the youth during the summer because, as you mentioned before, about the number of tourists that come here. So, they do have a need, throughout the summer for more youth to work in the fast food places and, some of the other shops in town. But, I think you need activities where the youth can have fun. And the young kids, the little kids, they have story time at the library and things like that. But I think for the teens, there isn't a whole lot of activities for them to participate in. When we were growing up, we had dances at the different fire halls. Saturday night would be this one, Friday night would be that one, and we would go from town to town.
Well, actually, the
And
six
it was
of
a
you
big
and the
deal.
6 of you would go from town to town to those dances.
But the youth now, I don't think they have too many fun things. It doesn't cost a lot of money for them to do.
So opportunity for youth in
Yeah.
a vibrant community.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, Connie and Ken, thank you so much for joining us. As I said, I can't think of two more generous people in this community that have been shining examples for many people that you know and don't know, and really appreciate you being here at today's open house Christmas edition.
Well, thank you, Ralph, and
Thank you very
welcome-
much.
Welcome to Adams County.
Thank you. In about 40 or 50 years, I'll just about be, almost local.
We'll interview you.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for joining us.